What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are here to discuss the Detroit Lions' 19-28-point loss to the LA Rams yesterday. Man, it was another big game, and this one was super entertaining throughout. Unfortunately, we came up just this short once again. So let's get it started.
Way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. We're here to talk about this game a little bit, man. This was another tough loss for the Lions. We've had a few of these this year, and this one's right up there with them. I mean, it wasn't a last-second field goal. We were really close. We played a really good team. We knew all the emotions behind it. You know, Goff returning to LA, Stafford playing the Lions, and it was fun to watch. I mean, that's the one thing I was hoping for coming in was let this game be competitive, let it be entertaining, and it was. So I'm appreciative of that to win that game. Ooh, that would have felt good. Oh man, especially on the road. That would have felt real good to win that game. But like I said, man, just a few plays short. And this is a heck of a team, right? The LA Rams are now 6-1 in the season. Unfortunately, the Lions are still looking for that win. We have the Eagles next week. I think it's very, very winnable next week. I really think this is very winnable. But until the Lions get over it, it's hard. It's hard because they're playing good teams really tough, but they have to show that they can close, and they just have not shown that yet. And this was another example against the LA Rams. So again, a really good team. Now I do make this update that we will be live for Last Second Dose tonight on Rad's channel, okay? So I'll put the link in the description, not the description, hold on. I'll put the link in the community so you guys can join. Probably about 9 p.m. Eastern time, I'll throw that over there. So make sure you guys check it out. Check out his channel, Last Second Sports. Will be live tonight to talk about this game, give some grades. You guys know the drill. You know what it is. So make sure you guys come over there and check it out. I do want to give a couple of injury updates. First off, A.J. Parker. The gut feeling for Dan Campbell is that he could be out for a little while, okay? So he was injured this game. Daryl Worley stepped in, and he didn't play that well. But at the same time, I don't think he'll be our starting slot next week. He could be. We do have Coleman who could be brought up. We're going to have to bring up someone to at least be the backup to Worley, even if we roll with Worley. But it sounds like Parker could be down for a little while. The good thing is the bye week is right after this next game, so that's a good time for it to possibly get him back. But obviously, it's a very unfortunate loss. I think we'll probably go with a different option. I would bring Roby Coleman up. I would do that, and I'd start him at slot next week. That's what I would do. I would start him at slot next week, and I'd roll with him, and then I'd keep Worley for the backup. You know, if we need it, he's my backup. Maybe you bring up Shakir Brown. Whatever you want to do, but I think I'd go a different route. Logan Stenberg was also injured. He has been placed on injury reserve. I don't know what happened to Logan Stenberg. I must have missed something completely. Was he on the field? He must have been. They didn't practice, so unless it was like a non-football injury, I don't know what happened to him, but he's on injury reserve now. So maybe a guy like Kramer. I don't know who's exactly on the practice squad right now, but someone will probably be brought up to be the backup guard. He's not a starter, but that's kind of weird. I don't know what happened there with Logan Stenberg. We kind of been waiting to see him, and then it's like, okay, now he's on injury reserve. So I must have just missed something with him. Flowers, I didn't get any updates there, so I'm assuming he's fine, but we know he went down during the game. We'll see where he was at on Wednesday. The team is still in LA, I believe, today, and they're probably flying back right now. Just a couple of injury updates, and now let's get into this. Let's get in this video. A day off from the game, so I went back. I've watched it a couple of times. The condensed version, of course. You know, I don't want to see some of the replays. They just make me mad. But I watched it a few times, got some new notes, got some other things. I'm like, all right, yeah. And then other things, I'm like, okay, maybe that's not what I thought it was when I first watched it and when it's live. Because when it's live, it's a completely different situation. But I got to say, I like the 4 p.m. start. Talk about this game a little bit, because even though we lost, there's always good to look at. And I felt like there was a lot of good in this game. But yeah, we just fell short. And this is kind of what happens when you're playing a really good team like the LA Rams. You got to be really good, especially on the road. You know, I mean, you got to do a lot of things well to beat this team. And the Lions did a lot of things well. They put out some tricks. You know, they pulled some tricks out of the bag there, out of the hat. You know, they pulled some rabbits out of their hat. Does that make any sense? I don't know. But they did that, and they were successful in all of them. They just fell a little bit short, man. They're about 10, 15 yards away from possibly winning this game. Scored on their first possession. It seems like forever since we've done that. It does seem like that. I don't know if that's true, but it just seems like it's been a really long time since we came out and actually had somewhat of a hot start. I mean, this was a close game at half, which just felt good. I remember at halftime just walking out and saying, man, we're only down by a point. Like, this feels good. We're right here. Just how the Lions want to do it. And they played the game just like they wanted to. They executed how they wanted to play the game, which was they wanted to keep the ball in the Rams' hands. They only had 3 possessions in the first half, really. They technically had 4, but their last one was just 1 play. It was just halftime. But the 3 possessions they had before half, they scored on every possession the Rams had. All right, I believe it was 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Yeah, they had 17 points, but they only had 3. So that was kind of how the Lions wanted to play this. They made a couple of big stops, and they just limited the amount of possessions the Rams had, because if you can get stops, then it can really, they become bigger, right? You really just want to not give them the ball. But ways the Lions did this, first off, the offensive game plan, but also some of the trick plays that they rolled out with. I mean, you talk about 2 fake punts. 2 fake punts. All right, you got the first one. That's the throw from Jack Fox to Bobby Price. I don't know if this was the first one, but that was beautiful. All right, Jack Fox threw a dot. Shout out to Bobby Price making a play, being ready for that. And they were only putting one guy on each gunner, so you had this opportunity. And then the second time, it was C.J. Moore talk off at a block. Every time I watched it back, I'm like, man, he probably could have scored a touchdown on this. If he just, I don't know, juked out the guy, cut back upfield. He got the first force, but maybe he could have scored a touchdown. Either way, you had the C.J. Moore one, which was huge. That kept a drive alive. And then, of course, after you scored that opening touchdown, you go out and you do an onside kick. An onside kick, and the Lions didn't sell it. They didn't come out and say, okay, we're doing an onside. They did the sneaky kick where they kick in, everybody's running back, and it's like, oh, snap, they kicked this off. And the Lions recovered, and they went up 10 early. Because they scored at such a high rate against our defense, and we weren't able to force a turnover, we kind of had to do these things and try to get an extra possession, keep the ball out of their hands, because, they're probably getting extra possessions. They may score 4 times in the first half. That really hurts you, right? Then you're down in a bad spot. So we kind of had to do these things, and they said, okay, let's just use special teams. Special teams played well. Shout out to Dave Phipp. They couldn't get into a shootout. They knew what this is going to be. So as much as we talked about tempo, there were moments of it, but consistently playing tempo against a team like this, knowing how you're built as a team, like Dan Campbell said, we got to stay close so we can keep the run game alive, which the Lions did, and it almost worked. Gosh, I wish it would have. But they did that, right? They had to play the game like this. If you try to get into a shootout with the Rams, you better be the Cardinals, right? You better be a really good team. And the Lions, they're just not built that way, right? They lean more on the run game. Defensively, it's just different. They're just not there right now to try to play a shootout game. So they try to play their own game. And you know what? Sometimes muddying it up, making it dirty, making it ugly is how you do it. I think there was some good as well as some bad in this game, all right? There's 2 spots that we came into this game.
I know y'all are seeing my fingers like all red and stuff. I was having, not Kool-Aid, but it's like flavored water and it's cherry. That's why that is like it is, okay? So I'm not like bleeding. My hands aren't bleeding. They're just real red. I didn't notice that.
You guys watched the full preview. I know it was long, but I felt like we were really all good on our preview. Like we saw a lot of things in the preview that we saw in this game. Things they do. You watch formation-wise, how they lined up. I mean, heck, we predicted one play completely right. I mean, they did a lot of things that we talked about in the preview, so I felt like we were right on the preview. And our prediction was close. I went 24-23 Lions, of course. I felt like the emotion factor would help. And they had 23 until they got that 2-point conversion. I don't know how we would have scored 24. But it was relatively close. My predictions have been awful this year, so I'm just happy that one was close. But again, the preview was pretty good. But there was 2 things I was looking at. I don't know what this is. 2 things that I was looking at coming in this game. Offensively, Lions in the red zone. It's an area that we've struggled, and it's an area where the Rams have been really good. All right, this is the Rams. They allow yards. You can move the ball, but they shut you down in the red zone. And that's exactly what happened here. We scored no touchdowns in the red zone. We were 0 for 5 by the stats. One of them, we'll talk about what those 5 were, but that was an area where it was like, okay, how do the Lions fare in the red zone? Do they get points? And it's not even just the red zone. Red zone is a stat, but I'm talking like once you cross the 40, are we finding a way to just put anything on the board? Because turnovers are killers, holding, backing yourself out of range, like those things are killers, and we almost did that a few times. But, you found a way to score, but we didn't punch in any touchdowns for the red zone. And the last one, of course, the killer was the interception. But you had opportunities, and that was the place we looked at, and we didn't really win that battle. And the other side of the ball, for me, it was the Lions defense. I was looking at that front 4, which I thought, was okay. There was some good, there was some bad. We'll talk about that more tonight. But I was really looking at the Detroit Lions on 3rd down. This is one of the better 3rd down teams in football, the Rams, especially on 3rd and long. They're one of the best in the league. Like Stafford on 3rd and long, he was coming in, 10 for 12, like 9 first downs. Like it's crazy how good he was on 3rd and 10 plus. And in this game, that continued. The Lions had a couple 3rd down alongs. One, the PI early, which we'll get into. But on 3rd down, the Rams went 9 for 13. So 2 areas where I was like, okay, these are the areas I'm really looking at in this one. The Lions probably lost both battles there. Good red zone defense because they do really well with matchups. They can get some pressure on you. They're good in the red zone. The field shrinks, so it's much tougher to score down there. And it happened to us again in this game. Now, we did have a touchdown on their first drive, which was a screen that was set up really well. Great timing. They blitzed. You hit it. He's gone. It was nice. It was a laser by Goff. It was a great pickup by Jonah. And then, of course, Swift does the rest. And then we go to the onside, and then we get the fake punt, which keeps the drive alive. So we're pushing it down the field. We just wanted to keep it out of the Rams' hands. I mean, we didn't want them to have the ball. That's as simple as it is.
We want to give some love to our receivers, man. They block. Shout out to Hodge, who's blocking. Kalif always blocks, but they really do spark these.
So to have them have it 3 times in the first half, basically, That's not bad. The only thing is they scored in every drive, which is like, okay, yeah. Now, second half was better, which we'll get into. But either way, it comes to the 3rd and 9 situation. It's not a good spot to be in the red zone because the field has already shrunk. And you can see Goff probably sticks on the Hawk too long here. He looks to Hawk. Maybe he could have thrown this, but he sees Jalen Ramsey on him. And this is what we talk about matchups. Actually, Rad called this. They put Jalen on Hawk, and that's exactly what they did. And I think as the game went on, you saw the offense adjusted. Goff adjusted to saying, hey, okay, let's keep the ball away from Jalen Ramsey. Let's make sure we know where our second read is. We can't get locked on to who Ramsey is covering. You got to know pre-snap. In this situation where you got too locked onto him and he doesn't throw the ball, seeing his point of view, I get why he didn't throw it because that thing could have been really dangerous. So at least protect the football. We'll take the points rather than getting no points. You know, I'm always about getting points. I mean, if you're going to get onside and come away with no points, that is a killer.
If Goff is going to throw this pass, he needs to throw this right out of that back foot plant. Like right now. I mean, not now, right now. This pass has to be out there. And he holds a little long, and then, of course, he has to step up, and it's not there. If he throws that off after his break, that's probably going to get picked off by Jalen. He doesn't really have the arm to rip that, but maybe that's just some of that aggressiveness that we've talked about, just trusting your ability to kind of rip that through there and just throw it, trusting your receivers going to be. And I felt like we saw more trust as the game went on. And we got into this 3rd and 9 spot because Jalen Ramsey blew up our first run, and then the second run to Jamal only went for like 2 yards, so it put us in 3rd and long, which not a great spot. And as lame as this may sound, the truth is it was an issue for Goff, and this was fumbling. And back-to-back weeks he has not fumbled, which I know doesn't sound great. But in this game we took a hit as well, and he tucked it. There was one that he scrambled out on. There was a little bit more confidence, I think, in his game. But he's protecting the football, which is good.
The other one, of course, was before the half. And I felt like this was the spot where we really started to see Goff find a lot of rhythm. And it was that tempo offense. And we've kind of been like, okay, when are we going to see the tempo? But at the same time, you're playing the Rams. You're trying to play this game where, hey, keep it out of this offense hand because they have so much firepower. So we didn't see the tempo as much. And the Lions weren't making a lot of the pre-snap errors, so they didn't have to go to tempo, right? They didn't have to because they weren't lining up over a tight end. They weren't false starting. You know, those things, those were killers. We weren't doing that. We still had a lot of very crucial penalties, offensively and defensively. We had 8 penalties for, I think, what was it, 66 yards? Either way, we had like 8 penalties, which is not good, but a lot of them happened post-snap, especially on the offense. We didn't have a lot of these pre-snap penalties, so that was good. But it was before the half. It was this 2-minute drive where we moved the ball really well. I mean, they knew you were throwing the football, and this felt like Goff, okay, he was getting comfortable. This felt like we saw a much more comfortable Goff, and I do got to give credit to the O-line, especially how well they kind of contained Aaron Donald in this game. You can't really contain the guy, but the way that they slowed him down in this game in pass protection. And also, you know, it was clear the quarterback knew, hey, you know, I got to make sure I'm getting the ball out. We got to be on time with things, all right? Because if not, things can get really ugly fast. We got to stay ahead of the chains. But at the same time, we also saw him flying through reads a lot quicker, and I felt like this 2-minute drive really sparked some rhythm, specifically not really just the offense, but in his game. It found rhythm in his game, and he made some really nice passes for us, right?
Even this one, right out of the gate, okay, so you get Hawk in motion, and watch who takes him. It's Jalen Ramsey. So he starts there with his first read. He's like, oh, no, it's Jalen. It's a long throw. I can't make that. So he comes back. Protection allows him to roll a little bit. Good ball placement. And what did Aylin say? He'll throw it to guys that he trusts. And we saw this back in camp. It's Kalif, and Kalif was the guy at receiver today, and there you go, 15 yards.
He's going through different reads. The fake that he had, and then he turned it into a flip to Hawkinson, and he was looking at Ramsey, but he said, okay, I got to get off this read because Ramsey's there. I see it. It's not there. Okay, let me get off this. First red zone stop, he didn't get off it that quick. This one, he gets off it, and he so creative pass. 2-minute drive was pretty well done, I mean, for being honest. And then this throw to Kalif Raymond.
And we've seen this in glimpses. I think we saw this against San Fran too, but we've seen glimpses of the Lions finding this rhythm offensively. First off, it's a pass pro. All right, he's got a really nice pocket. You can see they're running 2 underneath routes underneath, and this is the shot you have. Kalif wins right after release. It's a great pass right over his ear, but maybe this is why the Lions want to see more tempo. You know, this season, I mean, this game in particular, we didn't really want to do it, but in glimpses, tempo just might be the move to find some rhythm with this pass attack.
And, you know, when you talk about our receivers, we'll probably talk about this more in last dose. That was the only receiver that caught a pass aside from Hodge, who caught one on a screen. That was it. All right, we could still use some receiver help. But Kalif Raymond had a big game, and he did have that drop screen. But this was nice. I mean, you can see him win completely off the release, and then no hesitation, Goff, and he puts it right on him. It was beautiful, that pass. But the pressure was pretty good, considering they knew you were throwing the football on this possession. You move it down, and, you know, they didn't strike from about the 20, but at the same time, the Rams defense is kind of like, okay, we gave up the field goal. Let's just not let them get in the end zone. So you can pretty much put everybody in the end zone. And that one pass that he threw away, you see a safety on top. You cannot try to force that in. The second one, he kind of threw it away again. But it did run some clock off, and then he got the field goal. So it was 17-16 and a half. But I felt like offensively, you know, okay, there was some good there. And that one did count as not scoring in the red zone because you did get inside the 20 technically. but it was just because it was halftime. So I can't really say, okay, well, they didn't score a touchdown. It was halftime, so I'm not really mad about that one. We did have a lot of those, pre-snap penalties offensively in this game, which was good, but we still did have some critical penalties. Both sides of the ball. We'll get into the defense in a second, but offensively, one that sticks out was we ran the ball, and we're about at the opponent, 40, 35-yard line, and instead of it being a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, it becomes a 3rd and 16, 3rd and 17 because of a holding on TJ Hawkinson. Now, 3rd and 6, no guarantee you're going to pick that up, but it does kind of halt a possibly manageable 3rd down. I mean, it's not going to be easy, but it's definitely manageable, especially with how we were playing offensively. So having that holding call really hurt us, backed us up. We go to a draw, and we get in field goal range. So it put us in field goal range, but it took away the opportunity to really score a touchdown. So that halted a drive. And, the amount of times we run the ball, holding calls are killers because you want to run the football, you want to play a certain way. Well, when you get holding calls, you back yourself up, and you know that you're not really built to play in a shootout game. Flags are just killers, man. We've heard it. And there was one on Big V as well, which I thought was really weak. This one's on Hawk. I mean, there was a couple that I was like, no, that's not that great. But either way, we did have a few holding calls, which did hurt. And that one really kind of took us out of position to score a touchdown because we went to a draw. Good job by Swift, get us back in field goal range. Shout out to Cybert, who made all of his kicks. But that one was like, dang, okay. Probably aren't in the exact order. I just kind of have them wrote down randomly. You have the incomplete pass to Swift. And this one was on a 3rd and 7, I believe. Back to his check down, as he should. And he throws it to Swift. And you can kind of see when he slowed it down what really happened here, and it was just bad timing between the two, right? Swift leaks out kind of late, and he goes to sit down, and as soon as he sees him fit, he throws it. So he turns and throws where he's sitting, and Swift starts moving, and it's just one of those miscommunication things, and they both talked about it after the game. Hawk said, well, Swift said, hey, I got to sit down faster, I got to get to it quicker because he did come out really late. And then Goff, he talks about, we talked about it after the play, and it was just one of those things where, man, they were just a little bit off. And yeah, if he catches that, you possibly can run this in for a touchdown, but that stops that drive. And it's little things like that can really hurt you. And there was one, right? He comes back to his check down, he sees him, he sits there, he throws it, and Swift's kind of moving still, so it just falls incomplete. It wasn't a straight up miss, it was just a miscommunication. First, we had the back-to-back run stuffs. Now, obviously, this will bring up, should you take it a field goal, should you not have? I'm always the point guy. I've always been a guy who's like, take the points, take the points, take the points. I know a lot of the chat was, but again, hindsight's 20/20, so I don't want to get too mad about this because he played an aggressive game. He was taking his points early. He played an aggressive game, though, so, okay, I'm not mad about the decision. I just didn't necessarily like who the running back was on these plays. I love Swift. I just didn't like him for this situation in particular. But they did go for it. Obviously, if you took the field, it probably could have helped a little bit because then you would have been down by 3, moving the ball on that last drive, and you probably didn't have to be as aggressive trying to push it into the end zone. And then, of course, they get the field goal at the end, and of course, you're still only down by 6 points, so you're still alive. It's not like it, was kind of like over when we had the field goal, but either way, we had 3rd and 1, all right? And this is how this drive falls. So we have 3rd and 1, and you don't pick them up. So these were just, they're just critical stops for us. And I don't know if this one was, I think this one was in the red zone. I'm not sure for sure. I wrote it down, so I'm assuming it was. But this was back-to-back runs, and he went with Swift. 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. Now, I don't love the situation to have Swift back there. Simple as that. Jamal will get you a yard. He just will. So Jamal is just a different type of back. And this is not like, oh, I hate Swift. Like, no, I like Swift. They're just different backs. And we've seen it all the time. We saw it in this game. When Jamal comes out in his 3rd or 4th and short, you know what's coming. But the question is, can you stop it? Because Jamal, he doesn't hesitate. He puts his head down. And even if you hit him behind the line, he's got the second effort. He can move you backwards. He can get you a yard. This didn't happen. Now, the first play, we go to Swift, we didn't get the yard. The second play, Dan Campbell takes the blame on himself because he said, I called for that. I called for them to just go. So it was kind of that feel of the game. He was kind of in the moment. He was like, just go, just go. And I don't hate it. Like, if you're going to go, then go. But you still had Swift out there. But this wasn't necessarily as much on just having Swift out there. This was, like Dan Campbell said, they had the tight end kind of pull across, which slowed down Swift. If you watch, when the tight end pulls across and they hand it off to Swift, it kind of stops Swift for a second, and then he's kind of like, you just want to get downhill as fast as you can when you're going up-tempo like that. When you're just like, let's go. You don't want these motions and guys moving across the face to slow people down. You want to just get that yard. Well, that slows you down, and Dan Campbell took some of the blame for that one. So that was another way a drive was halted. And then, of course, the interception. And it was unfortunate because we did a pretty good job against Donald. Yes, did he beat us a few times? Yeah, he did, because he's Donald. But this one was probably the cleanest win of the day on Jonah Jackson. He didn't even look touched. against Jonah Jackson. Just walked free. And you could see what Campbell said, the issues of the play. Like, a lot of things went wrong on this play. Of course, Jonah getting beat that quick is tough, but it's also Aaron Donald, so unfortunately, just bad timing on when it happened. It would have been nice if you could at least got a hit on him, because then it could have slowed him down and possibly get that route out cleaner, because as Goff is throwing it, he's getting hit. He never really follows through with the ball, so it kind of just sits in the air. They had Brock Wright in the game. Interesting. I don't think we've seen Brock Wright in the regular season game this year. They had Brock Wright, and they were kind of both running like skinny posts. So close to TJ Hawkinson that the safety wrap was basically covering both of our tight ends in one spot. He didn't have to move. So it took away, over the top, because he's covering both our guys. There was no runoff by Wright. They want to run this off, pull the safety inside, and get this inside leverage for TJ Hawkinson on Jalen Ramsey. That makes sense, right? It makes sense when you think about it. But just multiple things kind of dominoed here. First, the hit. Of course, the ball doesn't follow through. And then because it was ran so tight to Hawkinson, the safety sitting over top, and the ball kind of just sits up there, and Jalen jumps it. It was a play that they wanted. They said they wanted it back in practice, but unfortunately, that's how it ended. And that was the big one, right? That was the big one, because that was really the game. I mean, you're at the about 11, 12-yard line. I believe that was the second down play, and that was kind of it, right? That kind of wrapped it up. We did have a chance to get it back. We just didn't. They moved the ball, and they've been moving the ball on us all game. They had about 400 yards. But guys, I mean, there's good here. We had over 400 yards of total offense, which is not something that you see a ton with us, but we had over 400 yards. We had more yards than the Rams did in this game. So I guess take that how you want to. Obviously, you need to convert. 7 yards per completion, which was 7.1 yards completion. It's not a ton, but it's a lot, because Stafford's was 7.8. We know he had some big shots. 7.1, like, it's usually in the 4s. It was 7. So we had some hits here, right? We had some after the catch. There was a lot of things that went well here with the quarterback play. And I always give credit to the O-line first, because they did help protect. When you give them time, obviously things can go well. Also, I just felt like, he just started to click, it seemed like, after that 2-minute drive in particular. But I mean, there was definitely know where Jalen is, and then know where my second option is, and he was going through reads pretty fast, and there was just some kind of rhythm that he hit in his game, and I think we started to see it flow in that going into half. There was just a rhythm that he was finding in that game. Like, he was finding a rhythm passing it, which we really haven't seen. Some of that's because you're not getting flags before the snap, which have been killers in the past. The third down plays, I won't go into all the third down plays, but I will say there was the unit that I was looking at in this game, and it was the front four. All right, it was the front four. How did they fare against the O-line? Because this is a great O-line of pass protection. They have great pass protection plans. So how well do you do? And how much are the line's going to blitz? Front four had to help us. They had to help us get some pressure in this game. And they didn't do a fantastic job of getting pressure in this game, at least in the first half. We weren't winning one-on-ones. We went straight up against an offensive lineman. Our guys weren't winning one-on-ones. So I know at one point Trey Flowers went down. It's a really good offensive line one-on-one. Really, the only guy that we had some success getting by was Brian Allen, the center, in this game. Aside from that, I mean, tackles, guards, they held their own in this one. We were not getting that push with the front four, and you kind of need that. Like, I like the idea of dropping, but I thought we'd get a little more pressure. It's like, okay, if you can get some pressure like the Arizona Cardinals did, then you can drop more often, and you're in a really good spot. For us, unfortunately, we just didn't really get that much pressure, especially in that first half with the front four, so we had to mix in blitzes. And some of them, I think they could have been disguised better. Like, there was one that the Rams did to us, where Jalen Ramsey was sitting there, and he sold this so well, you had no idea who was coming. And he jumped out the slot and got pressure and got a sack. Well, not a sack, but we got a hit on 3rd and long. Because usually when they picked it up, I mean, even if we brought 5 or 6 guys, if they picked it up, we still weren't getting a lot of pressure. And, of course, when you do that, things are going to get ugly. Things are going to get real ugly. Guys are going to be open. You have to get pressure if you blitz. If you blitz, you don't get pressure, that's not good. All right? So, it's a tough offense. It's a really good offense that you played it in this game. I thought with the secondary, you look at guys like Jerry Jacobs, right? I mean, Jacobs, he had ups and downs. Right? I mean, this was the test. Bengals, okay, good. You played Jamar Chase. That's still tough. Vikings, okay, that's good. But Stafford, Rams, that receiving core, oh, snap, this was a test. And there was good and there was bad. First off, that first PI was a killer. We were up 13-3, and it was a 3rd and 5. And if that was just incomplete, that could completely shift the entire game and make them very one-dimensional. But no, they called a PI, which I thought was terrible. You don't have to get your head around. He didn't make contact with him. So I thought it was clean coverage. It's the same exact coverage that if he played against the Packers, that was not a PI, if you guys remember, and it was a pass breakup. This one they called a flag, and I guess that's sometimes a little bit of home cooking. So they get the flag, and that was a tough one. They come back later, and they hit him in the end zone. He made some plays, though. Made some plays against the run, made a play against the slant. He just wasn't perfect. He had some good, he had some bad, as you expect from a rookie, especially in this matchup. But some of the plays they made did help us, I thought, in this game. It was just going to be a really tough matchup for everyone in this one. Cooper Kupp is still nasty. You can put him anywhere. I mean, we had a situation where we double teamed him when they were inside about our 15-yard line, 10, 15-yard line, and they picked up a first because we had two guys on Cooper Kupp. We dropped our outside linebacker and put a corner on him, and because of that, they got separation on the opposite side where they ran a little inside zig route and they were able to pick up a first down. So it was things like that. The attention that a guy like Cooper Kupp can draw is crazy from a receiver. You don't really think that for a guy his size, not being the fastest guy in the world, to draw that kind of attention. It'd be nice to have a guy that could draw attention like that for us. We used to with Kelvin, but that kind of attention, I mean, it's a game changer when you have that. But I like the second half. While we gave up scores every time in the first half, 2 touchdowns, 1 field goal, the second half we came out, we were better. Was it perfect? No. I thought our run defense settled in as the game went on, and they got better. They definitely settled in. Charles Harris stood out to me again. Nick Williams did some things in there. Brackers was all right, but Harris really stuck out to me in this one. I think McNeil flashed a few times. But really, that second half, they came out and they got a couple of stops for us defensively, which was big because they got the ball first. We got the ball first. So if we didn't get that stop coming out half, and they make it 24-16, now you're in a bad spot. But they get a stop for us, which was big time coming out of the half. We had a couple of those. We had a turnover on downs, and we forced a punt. Now, the first time was the forced punt. We laid a pretty big hit. We blitzed. Tracy Walker laid a big hit, and then you get third down. But this is where we saw, the Lions do the same thing we saw a couple weeks ago, or even last week, I think. You get a free rusher in Julian Okwara by only bringing 4 guys. When you can get pressure with 4 guys, it changes the whole game. And we saw this on the deep shot that Stafford took. It was completely underthrown. It wasn't that open because you only had to bring 4, and you could still get pressure. The Lions just weren't able to do this a ton, right? But they were doing things differently. Second half, I saw a lot more stunts. Maybe it wasn't true, but by the eye test, I saw Lions go out and run a lot more stunts trying to get guys inside. And the one time Daryl Worley was beat deep, the first play he was beat deep when A.J. Parker went out, you could see Austin Bryant slipped on his stunt, which slowed him down. It would have been there because he got up and he got there, but he was late because he slipped. Lions brought 5 guys, so they're probably playing a little bit tighter coverage because they still brought 5 guys, right? So they were trying to match up and get a guy free. And they did. It's just that Bryant slipped coming around to the inside, whereas where they were having success attacking, which made sense why they attacked that way and not around the edge. And of course, you get a little extra time and you hit Worley. And I don't know what the Lions are going to do at slot, but I don't think Worley's the answer. We'll see. Maybe they go with it again. I'm just saying, I think it's going to be Roby Coleman next week. I'm just being honest. Someone else is going to have to be slot because I don't think that was their plan to have him slot. That's just who they had when Parker went down. That's where they had to go with it. It sounds like Parker won't be back at least this week. Maybe not till after the bye, which would be okay. It's a good time for a bye week for a lot of these guys, like Decker, things like that, make some decisions on what we're going to do. But I did think in the second half, they did some stunts. They did things to get after him a little bit. Second half, they forced a lot more third and long situations. And it's kind of hard to stunt, when you're getting after the quarterback, unless you really know it's a pass. You can't really do it against a run, right? Unless they're going empty or, it's obvious passing down. So they got a lot more obvious passing downs. Now, they didn't get off on all of them, right? They didn't get off on all of them, and that's what hurt us because there's some third and longs that we should have gotten off the field. The fourth down play by Julian was awesome. We got a great stop on third. They come back on fourth, and as soon as the receiver's hands go up, Julian sticks his hand out, bam, and it smacks his hand. Heck of a play. It's also great recognition because this is one of the things where he can just keep going forward, but he knows his tight end's leaking. I got to take that. He takes it, and he's behind, but again, just getting that hand out there, and he knocks it away. So we did a couple things like that. You have the deep shot, the T-walk. And of course, you got to take a little look here. We get some pressure. Because we get some pressure, I believe, from McNeil, it forced him to get a little bit wider, take a little bit longer to get that shot downfield, and T-walk is able to break on and get us a pass breakup. I thought we'd get a pick that way. We just didn't get one. I thought that was kind of the situation we get a pick at, taking a shot. That one could have been the pick, but it wasn't. But that was a little bit of McNeil there setting it up. So it was really on the front four, and they weren't great. They were okay, but it was a really good offensive line. So I understand the Lions defense. I know this is very specific, was just incredible on those rollout plays. Under center or from the shotgun. I mean, they did so well on this. You have the layers routes, right? So the Lions have to cover the crossers. They did pretty well there for Stafford not to force it downfield. And then you take away the underneath options, right? Sometimes you have a tight end who will leak out across the back where you don't see him. Or you have a guy that comes out late or a receiver, something like that underneath. And every time the Lions took it away, Jalen, whoever it was there, they took that pass away. We had a pass breakup. I think the one that A.J. Parker had thrown his way. We were really good on these rollouts, and this is a staple of their offense, screens and rollouts. So that was just very well disciplined for this defense, for a young defense. You had to play a really good game. Because this is not like we're playing Philly next week. I mean, no disrespect for Philly, but this is one of the best teams we have on our schedule. This may end up being the best team we have on our schedule this season. I was saying this is an unfortunate bounce back game to have because even if the Lions play a really solid game, a really good game, you're still probably going to lose because you're playing a team that's this good. And that's what happened in this one, in my opinion. You still made some crucial mistakes that you can't make. But at the same time, you also played a really good team. So those things are going to get emphasized because you're playing a good team. You have to play a clean game. All the things that good stuck out. I mean, we'll get into it later, but Alex Anzalone, I thought he played well. Kalif was obviously great. Leaf was really good in this game. He got separation. He caught passes. I thought this was Goff's best game until the interception. I just felt rhythm in his game that I haven't seen the last couple weeks. It felt like there was a rhythm that I probably haven't seen since going back to maybe the Ravens game in the second half. Like, it's been a while since we've seen him catch a flow like that. And it was nice. It was nice to see him catch flow. I was hoping we'd win for him, but unfortunately we didn't. But there was some rhythm the offense found, which was nice, and I think Goff started to find it really after that second quarter. We may see more tempo in other games, but this game, the way they wanted to play it, made sense why they were trying to slow it down. And like we always talk about, if you're going to do that, you got to capitalize. If you're going to slow the game down, we wasted that last drive. I mean, that last drive was really long. It was a long, methodical, I bet that was at least over 7 minutes, and you turn it over. I mean, that's one of those things where it's beautiful to have a drive because if you score, you punch it in, you go up 1, you give it back to the Rams, and they got really one drive to try to win it. And you'll take that. On the road, you'll take that any day. But you got to capitalize because we don't have a ton of explosive plays, right? We don't always do that. We had a couple in this game, which was nice. We had a Swift explosive. We had a Kalif explosive, which, again, was a nice throw by Goff to me. I mean, he worked through his progressions quick, laid a good ball, and we're off to the races, right? It was just, again, it's about capitalizing in the red zone. And for many different reasons, for different issues, always, it still needs to be cleaned up. It's still a spot that we need to work on. And they have game changers, so it's more understandable, but we've seen it for weeks now. So we need to see those things get cleaned up. And unfortunately, a miscommunication here, a misblock here, holding here, whatever it may be, a couple we're not being able to pick up a 1 yard. Those things are killers. A lot of credit to our O-line helping us find a rhythm. We avoided a lot of the pre-snap penalties. Our O-line helped us at least find a rhythm. It wasn't perfect, but we were able to find a rhythm offensively, especially in the pass game. In a run game, it wasn't always there. There were some crucial times we needed it when it wasn't. But it also, kept the defense off balance. They still had to guess. So once you're able to find that flow, man, this offense, again, started to get to the moving phase. And right now, it's just about figure out how do we punch it in, but how do we go in the next week and continue this? I mean, we can't have these pre-snap penalties anymore. Just stop. They can't keep happening. It has to be done with that. So we won't win a lot if we still making some of these mistakes. Some of these things just got to be better. They got to be cleaned up. So, we'll see where that goes. But I did think there was a lot of good. I think the Lions could still use some receiver help. Of course, the A.J. Parker injury, which is not good. We'll see where that goes. I think we'll see a different slot next week. I don't know. Maybe we'll see the same guy. I don't think we will. I don't think it'll be Worley again. They at least got to bring someone up for a backup, right? I mean, maybe that's Shakir Brown. I don't know who it is, but I think it's got to be someone else. Let me know your thoughts, Scott Float, man. We're going to be live tonight, Last Second Dose. Talk about this game, get some grades out, and get your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.